What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. Anyways, as far as the market's going, you guys could tell SPY is pushing up very nicely. We talked about how this new setup developed, forming an inverse head and shoulders. And so far, this is what is panning out very, very nicely. I mentioned as long as SPY is above 592.5, we should be expecting 595. And eventually, if that breaks and holds, we're looking for this high at 598 to be tested. And then even higher than that, like 600 becomes a strong possibility. So, like I said before, as long as we're above 592.5 and 590, we remain more bullish, and there's going to be a lot more upside potential. The QQQ and many other tickers have similar setups, but we're looking quite good off this, and there is potential to go even higher than that. So, the market's looking good. The question is, what's going on with the markets? Why are we pushing? Let's go over some news and data, and I'll break down the charts. First and foremost, we just got some good data. We got the JOLTS job openings report right over here at about 7.39 million. That's some good news because that's technically above the forecast and the consensus, which were between 7.05 to 7.1 million. So, what that means is that there were more job openings than expected in the economy that were reported. And then we have the job quits at 3.19 million. This is technically below expectations of 3.3 million. This is what the forecast was, and also a decrease compared to before. So basically, what this tells us that there were more job openings and less job quits than expected, which is good news, fueling the soft landing narrative and fueling the narrative that the economy is still holding up well. Despite the fears that exist out there about higher inflation and such, we're still doing a good job at holding up. Now, I understand many of you don't trust the data. The data could be manipulated. We may not fully trust this data. I completely get it. But you have to understand that this is the data that's being reported to us, and the market's responding in a more positive manner. So you have to accept it for what it is and be unbiased. This is what the market likes. So far, we're going to push thanks to this as one of the main factors. On top of this, at 10:10 a.m., we just got the Economic Optimism Index report at 49.2. So this is technically above expectations, which tells us that the market's a little bit more optimistic than previously expected. So right now, we're seeing better jobs numbers than before. The overall sentiment is a bit more optimistic than before as well. That does not necessarily make us completely cleared up of higher inflationary risks or more fear in the future. That does not mean everything is just like clean for the future. This just tells us that for now the optimism did improve to some extent for the time being, so keep that in mind, at least for the data. Then we have a couple of Fed speakers. We have Cook and Logan giving speeches later on. Keep that in mind. That's what we're seeing so far. But so far, much of the data is helping the market push. On top of this, there was good news that came out involving the tariffs. Section 301 came out involving tariff exclusions, and they've been extended up until August 31st. So this means that you have all these products, right? You have these semiconductors, you have GPUs, motherboards, and a lot of different products subjected to this. They are coming from China. At least China is involved in the process of producing them. And then they could have been subjected to higher tariffs, but that's been delayed again. There's a 3-month extension in this policy, and that's some good news, at least so far. This gives us more time to negotiate policy, and the market obviously likes this. Also, we have Lutnick coming out, and he is saying that he sees the US and India forging a trade deal very, very soon in the not too distant future. This is optimistic for the markets. Finally, despite the ongoing litigation that's going on, President Trump said that he's very ambitious and he feels very frenetic about his tariff policy. He wants to see lots of trade deals. He mentioned that he wants to see the US reshape its relationships. He wants to reduce the trade deficits. He wants to protect American industries. He wants more deals. He's been saying that very, very explicitly, so keep that in mind. Now, I completely get it. A lot of you don't like tariffs. A lot of you may not like his policies. Some of you guys like his policies, right? Whatever it is, right? It doesn't really matter, because what matters is what does the market think of this? And that's the most important thing. I report this data and this information to be very unbiased. I'm not saying like it's right or wrong. I'm just here to tell you that's what's coming out. And the market likes this. You guys can see the market's pushing so far with all this optimism, good data, and all this news involving the trade deals. So that's what's going on so far. I'm just here to be very unbiased. Let me just clarify that real quick. Anyways, looking at the markets, clear inverse head and shoulders like structure. So long as SPY does not lose like 592.5 and 590, we remain more bullish. As long as we hold above 595 as well, we're favoring 598. We look very, very strong. And if that breaks, I'm looking for 600 next. We're looking really good. For the QQQ, it's the same setup. It's almost identical to SPY, inverse head and shoulders like structure. As long as we don't lose 523, we're favoring not only 527.5, but basically 530 as a potential target, looking at the inverse head and shoulders. On the IWM, we also have an inverse head and shoulders here. As long as we don't lose 206, we're favoring a push for 210. On ES, we have a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder. So long as we don't lose 5950. If we lose 5950, we could be dipping back down to the lower 5900s. As long as we're above that, we're favoring an attempt to get closer to 6000 now. We look more bullish. NQ, so long as we don't lose this high over here at 21,576, we're also favoring the upwards direction for these higher levels. So please keep that in mind as time goes on. We're still looking more bullish. So we're still seeing buyers stepping in, and I just want to say that we're looking very, very strong. We have very identical setups on SPY, ES, the QQQ, and many other tickers because of the overall algorithms that are dictating the way to which price action is developing, and the buyers are continuing to step in. So we look good. So far, so good, at least for all these different charts. Going down to our Bitcoin charts, Bitcoin's trying to break as well. We're forming a nice double bottom. As long as we could hold above 106,500, we're now favoring an attempt to get back up to like 107,500. So Bitcoin could go to 107,500 very soon. Nice looking double bottom. And we're seeing a lot of buyers who are optimistic about it. This is also what's very interesting about Bitcoin is it's been leading the market as of recent. This doesn't always happen, but as of recent, that's what's been happening. So, for example, like just I think it was yesterday, we saw Bitcoin dump quite a bit and we saw the market dip a little bit, but then we saw Bitcoin bounce, and as a result, we saw the market doing the same thing. So correlation does not mean causation, but it does suggest that Bitcoin is now following the market, if not leading the market to some extent. And this is something that sometimes happens. For Tesla, we look pretty good. A nice inverse head and shoulders like pattern. As long as we don't lose 348, I think we're looking good. I would like to see us close above 348. As long as we do that, we could be favoring an attempt to break 352 again, and then eventually back up for like 355 plus as we look quite good. On Nvda, we have a nice double bottom, inverse head and shoulders. As long as we don't lose 140, we're favoring a push back up towards 143. For Aapl, we look pretty good. We're making higher highs and higher lows, forming a bullish wedge. As long as Aapl does not lose 200, we're favoring a push for like 205. For MSTR, we're looking pretty good as well. As long as we're above 385, we're favoring a push for like 392. I think we're looking pretty good as well. AMD is following the semiconductors after some big news came out about many of the tariffs being delayed. So, we're testing this high rate here around 117. I'd like to see us hold above that to continue for like 118.5 as our next target. It depends on can we hold above 117 or not. If we lose 115, we could turn back down, but I want to see us hold above 117. For Coinbase, there's an inverse head and shoulders here. As long as we don't lose 252, we're favoring 216 and 262.5 as our targets. For Amazon, we also have a nice inverse head and shoulders here. I want to see us hold above 206. So long as that holds, we could try to bounce. But the thing about Amazon is that we're kind of in a range. So it's sort of like doing this. May continue to do this for some time, retest 205. But as time goes on, it still has the potential to go higher looking at the setup if we could try to hold above 206. For others out there, we also happen to have Meta, which is not doing as well. It's slowing down, but it already ran so much yesterday. I see it testing 663. We got to bounce off that to continue. If not, we could be dipping more. On Google, I want to see us get back above 170 to push more. If not, we could be showing some signs of weakness. We're still consolidating for the time being, but I want to see us get back above 170. And then finally, for Microsoft, I want to see us hold 461. As long as it holds, we're looking for 464. So we're looking pretty good. The VIX got a big rejection here. If we end up losing 18, we could be dipping back down to fill this gap. So you want to be very, very careful, at least nonetheless. So with that being said, thank you all for listening. The market's still looking more bullish. I would like to see SPY hold above 595 to try to continue. And as long as we're above 592.5, we're going to be completely fine, but there is still a lot of upside potential looking at the setup. We'll see if we get some news from Lutnick about an India deal or if President Trump speaks to the leader of China soon and whatever the big news happens to be. Either way, there's a lot of optimism right now. The market's holding up well, and there is upside potential, at least for the time being. Always watch your levels just to be safe, but just know that for now we look bullish. So we'll see what ends up happening as time goes on. Anyways, thank you for listening. I'll see you guys very soon, and peace out.